Hey YouTubers, it's me, Lonnie Clark, Nuts for Art, and I wanted to make a quick video and implore everybody to please actively engage. If you subscribe to my channel, you're obviously concerned about what's happened at Fukushima and all the other nuke sites around the world. Right now, the International Atomic Energy Agency and the NRC are literally perpetrating crimes against humanity, as they always have, but now they've stepped up the scale. Most of you, I hope you have heard my podcasts about what the Trump administration has done in the last year. They have basically prevented the Nuclear Safety Oversight Board up at Hanford and all the legacy sites from having access to the employees, to their notes, to safety things that they used to do. They're preventing limited access. The only time they're going to allow the safety board on the sites is if the licensees say that something is actually wrong up there. So until they have a major catastrophe, they're not going to let anybody take a look. And frankly, according to Diane Turco, I think it was, she said that this Nuclear Safety Board was responsible for finding the leaks at WIP. We would not know about it if it wasn't for them. So this is why the Trump administration really is preventing this, because they don't want to know. One of the things that they've also done is deemed all the high-level radioactive sludge, the waste, that is very expensive to deal with. They have to dig super deep tunnels. They have to maintain it all the time. They've now called it low-level radioactive waste, and they're going to transport it on our highways from Hanford, South Carolina, Idaho, and any other legacy sites, which there's hundreds of them, dozens, not hundreds, but dozens around the country. And they're going to transport highly radioactive waste to these shallow graves in Texas and a shallow grave in Utah. Both of these low-level radioactive sites that run these places, the dump sites, they contributed boatloads of money to Trump and to Rick Perry. And yes, I hear people saying, well, that's how it goes. That's how it is. Yes, it is. That is how it is. Only now they've stepped it up, because prior administrations at least had the facade of wanting to show some type of protection to the environment. This administration is just, it's declaring war on our country. And I hope that people will get actively engaged and demand that your elected officials stop these actions. We cannot allow this to continue. We cannot allow high-level, 100 million gallons of highly radioactive waste being transported on our streets. So I hope you guys will get involved in this. I feel a sense of urgency, to be honest. Like, when I started this project with Kevin Blanch, when I reached out to Kevin Blanch in 2013, I liked the idea of the Post-Ignorance Project. I thought we could form a coalition of millions of people across the nation. Not such an easy thing to do with Kevin Blanch as the front man and me as the silent person, and a handful, Thomas Ackerman, doing his artwork and trying to move the movement through art, and Patrick McCormick trying to also move it through art. A scrappy handful of people who didn't really know each other. It's no wonder it wasn't like a huge success, but guess what? We've got to keep at it. We have to keep being persistent. And I am no longer part of the Post-Ignorance Project for personal reasons, but that doesn't mean that our intentions are not all the same. Just like all these other one of the reasons that I connected with Kevin Blanch in the first place is when I looked into stopping nuclear and radioactive waste, I actually thought that there weren't very many people paying attention to it. Now, 5 years later, I've discovered there's in every city, every single city that's affected, there is a group of anti-nuke activists who basically keep to themselves, say nothing because they get harassed if they do. But there are people actively engaged in this. You know, one of the things we can all do is support those organizations that are local to us and ask them to be more actively engaged in being a public voice. One of my objections with Hanford Challenge is they don't make videos. They don't talk about what they're doing. I really feel like that Hanford Challenge could be a lot more vocal. But, one of the things I realize is they're kind of too small. They're actively engaged in defending the workers up at Hanford. That's their mission. That's their work, right? So they don't really have the time. I think they don't have the time. I don't know what it is because I'm not there. But all I know is we need more action from everybody. We are literally entering into the Olympics, with Fukushima being the starting point of the Olympics of 2020, where in Fukushima, those stadiums were created and built out of reclaimed wood from the Fukushima prefecture. That's a brilliant idea, right? The radioactivity in Tokyo is being completely ignored. The increase and rise of children and sickness and sterility, all of it. I mean, it's the usual. Anybody who pays attention to this channel knows that this is the ammo of the nuclear industry. Deny and lie, deny and lie. In fact, they even don't allow people to it's very difficult to get your blood tested for heavy metals to see what kind of radioactivity you actually have in your own blood. Like, that's incomprehensible. When a pool of 13 scientists were studying why are all the sea lions dying in California, a reporter literally asked them, did you test them from radiation from Fukushima? They said no. Their study was specifically mandated they could not test for radioactive contamination. Incomprehensible in light of what we've got going on. We have the plutonium Pacific right now, and it's just incomprehensible. But this is an action, literally, you guys, that is going to seriously harm so many people. I can't get it out of my brain. They are literally going to transport 100 million gallons of radioactive waste, put it on trucks that are actually equipped for low-level radioactive waste, and attempt to move it from Hanford, from South Carolina, to Texas. So what happens along the way on the roads? People passing those things are going to be exposed to high-level radioactive waste. What happens if the Wigner effect happens and these trucks break down and then the cops come and everybody gets contaminated and, it could turn into a catastrophe beyond compare. It already is a catastrophe beyond compare. The level of denial, the level of shutdown from people who just refuse to just pay attention and actively engage and open the boca, open your mouth and say something about it instead of just going, yeah, it's really bad. No, contact your elected officials, contact your governor, contact your city council members. Let them know that this is an issue that is important to you and to your family and to our future. And it ought to be important to them. I'm going to see Ron Wyden. I'm going to bring him this little disc again with all of these articles. I mean, we just had a huge 107-page PDF come out from the Department of Ecology in Washington that runs Hanford. And they basically are saying that we are at risk for radioactive waste up there because everything is deteriorating. Now, at risk probably means that we are being radioactively contaminated right now because we know they understate the harm like exponentially in the magnitudes of hundreds probably. But Ron Wyden's office had, for me, the cacophony of it all just kind of like blew me away, which is why I decided I have to talk to them again. We're not only attempting to close down the Columbia Generating Station, but we really, honestly, we must have them stop this action to prevent the Oversight Board from going on site to see what's happening and having any input on the safety of these nuclear sites, these nuclear waste dump sites. And we really must stop 100 million gallons of radioactive waste from being transported across our lines. So to that end, I also want to give you this. Let me see, where is it? I'm going to write this cat. I wrote it down. His name is, and I'm just going to put it up here. These are my notes. I hope you can read it. Isaac.Pavkochek@mail.house.gov. This is the House Transportation Committee, and he works directly with Pete DeFazio, who is the chairman of the House Transportation Committee. So this, I hope you can see it. Let me see, how can I get that to you? I hope you can see that. Isaac.Pavkovic@mail.house.gov. And you can send him your objections about transporting this nuclear waste on the highways. It's a complete insanity. So I hope you guys will actively engage. I wanted to put up a quick video because it can't just be me. It can't just be Thomas Ackerman making his videos. It can't just be Kevin Blanche making his videos or Dana Durnford doing his daily deal. It's got to be everybody contacting our elected officials. Anyone who has a concern about this, the time is now. The war has been declared, and it looks like because of our inaction, they're going to kill us all. So when are we going to decide it's enough? And we have to find a coalition of people. Now, so for those of you that want to get in touch with me, please do, because I am more than willing to create a coalition. I want a coalition of people who are willing to tell the truth and not exaggerate, not lambast and call names to people and talk about how great you are all the time, and not talk about like calling each other names and saying horrible things and exaggerating history. I want people who are concerned about saving our future, more concerned about saving their future than they are getting likes and clicks and subscriptions and donations. I've never made any money off of this. In fact, I've done nothing but give money on it, which I don't mind doing because it's important. But I want people to actively engage. We must come together, folks. And it doesn't matter really what your political views are, because guess what? There is no politics in nuclear contamination. It doesn't, your children are affected as my children are. We only have one thing in mind, and that is to help the human species survive. With nuclear waste, all they do really is move it from one place to another. They're attempting to keep it from getting into our food supply and into our air, and they are failing 100% miserably. And it's time for us to demand better out of the people that we are entrusting to manage this. So please put your courage feet on, you guys. Let me see, where's that little peace sign that I always do? Put your courage feet on, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Ciao.